Welcome to the Unit 1 project tutorial. For this project, you will be completing an application to host the 2022 Winter Olympics in the chosen city that you've been given. There are currently 6 cities still vying to host the 2022 Winter Olympics. So after reading this assignment sheet thoroughly and watching this video, step 1 is to read about your city. There are links in Moodle that can help you get started, as you want to use credible sources and keep track of all the sources you use for appropriate works cited. A lot of the sources will provide you with a lot of this information. What are the maps? What are some of the sites, the benefits? What are some of the regional areas, etc. Step 2 is to divide up the components of the application on the back. We'll get to that in just a moment. Step 3 is to turn in your application. Your application is due this Friday, which is April 11th. So please make sure you document that on your assignment sheet. April 11th is when the application is due printed to me. Step 3, there should be step 4 and it should say step 5. So part of step 3 is to reconvene after the application is complete to create a presentation which highlights your city in just 5 slides. Step 4, or 5 depending on your math, is to present your city in 4 to 5 minutes to the International Olympic Committee. You will be doing this next Monday, which is April 14th. Not sure what happened with the pen there. It froze, so I will just write April 14th over here. That's the deadline for your presentation. How will you be graded? That's the question we always have with group projects. For the application, there are 10 components to the application. It is 5 points per component of the application. You will be graded individually on that, and you must complete 2 for a total of 10 points for yourself. Groups that have just 4 members instead of 5, I will discuss with you on Tuesday what we're going to do to change your application. Additionally, you will be graded for the presentation. The presentation is 5 points per slide. You only get 5 slides. You are graded as a group for 25 points. So anyone can make that presentation. However, you should be doing it together. What will you submit? So to submit this Friday, the printed and completed application is due. It includes a works cited for all images, information, and maps. Each portion of the application has the same font size, margins, etc. Although you'll be completing them individually, you should have some standardization. Appropriately number each of the application components and put your name on it. Next Monday is when the presentation is due. The presentation can only have 5 slides. 1 additional slide is available for works cited for all of your images, information, and your maps that's been included on your presentation. You will have 4 to 5 minutes to highlight your city to the IOC, so that's approximately 1 minute per person, 1 minute per slide. 1 note card per person, that's 1 standard 3x5 note card. A title and a 1-sentence maximum on each slide. Your team will be graded on content as well as speaking skills. It is a 5-minute time limit, and there are just 5 slides to select, so you must choose wisely when including information to present. Here are the components that are required for the application. Like I said on the previous slide, the application has 10 components. Each of you must complete 2 components if there are groups of 5. For groups that have 4 members in them, you may complete any 8 components, but you must include number 1. So all groups must do number 1, and for those of you who have just 4 people in your group, you can exclude any 1, 2 through 10 that you do not wish to do. So your name of the presenters, your name of your group goes up here, as well as the city you're representing and the year of the Olympics. So like I said, there are 10 components to your application. They should be divided among the group members. The number in the question should be at the beginning of each component. Again, make sure the formatting of your application is consistent and each component is numbered appropriately. So one of the first and most important things that cartographers and International Olympic Committee considers is maps to show the feasibility of your city when it comes to hosting the Olympics. So you must have maps, this is all for number 1, that show the world location of your city, the location on its continent, the location within its region, the location within its country. So these maps are showing smaller and smaller things as we go down. Also, you must show population density. Population density is an excellent example of a dot distribution map, as well as population distribution, which can definitely be used in a dot distribution or choropleth map. You must also have a map that shows the infrastructure available. So maybe something that shows highways or subways. Also, you must have some kind of map that shows the climate in relation to the latitude and longitude. Climate is really important here. As it is the Winter Olympics, you must be able to demonstrate that your city gets sufficient snowfall in order to hold outdoor events. So for each of these components, each of these maps, A through H, you must also provide a very brief description, maybe a sentence or two, that's just for number 1, as to the benefits of your city based on the information portrayed on each map. For the remaining components of the application, it is suggested that you also include images to support your statements. They could be the same images or they could be different, but be sure to reference your images in your statements. So each of these, numbers 2 through 10, must be approximately 3 to 5 sentences and have supporting images for each. So, for example, one person in your group may be responsible for completing number 2 and number 3 of the application. That person will have to describe the site of the city and the benefits it provides, such as the physical characteristics, are there mountains, rivers, what's the climate like, vegetation, etc., and what is the situation of your city and the benefits it provides. So the location of the place relative to other places. Is it near major trade routes, major airports, international organizations, etc. So in addition to describing number 2 and number 3 with 3 to 5 sentences each, you must also add images or appropriate maps and provide some kind of caption if they are not directly discussed within the answer to number 2 and number 3. All other people in the group will continue to do the same thing. So let's say, for example, the next person does numbers 4 and 5, the next person does 6 and 7, and then someone else does 8 and 9, and then perhaps the person that needs to do number 10 also did number 1. So there you have all 10 components of the application covered. Again, if you have a group of 4, people who are in a group of 4 can choose any 8 of the components, any 8 of 10, but you must include number 1. So therefore, you can choose an additional 7, 2 per person, to be completed. So again, this slide just outlines what you need to do in reference to the application. The presentation will come later on, and I will be here in person to discuss what happens with the presentation. Your work right now should be focusing on research and beginning to compile the components of your application for your 2022 Winter Olympic bid.